Hello there fellow modelers, and welcome to part 2 of building the F4U-1/2 Corsair by Tamiya 1/48 scale in rapid build format. So let's get started with part 2 with basically gluing the main fuselage and the wing section together, just clamping this down and coming in with the Tamiya extra thin cement. Just remember to get those gaps kind of closed down, as well as get rid of any steps. I do actually put on the engine cowl at this point, just gluing that in, but it does need a little bit of help with a bit of masking tape to kind of keep that down, but also it needs lining up as well, so we're going to have a bit of a gap to take care of. As you can see, I had to kind of get this parallel and lined up that gap, as you can see there, and it did leave this gap on the top of that engine cowl just there. So to fill this in, we're going to come in with some UV activated glue. This is really cool stuff because it's UV activated. It allows us to take our time when actually filling in the gap, and also make sure it's properly filled in, as well as we can just crack on and get moving with just sanding it away. So I'm applying this, which has a really cool applicator by the way, and I'm using a blade just to push it in and make sure the glue's in there, no air pockets, that kind of stuff, and I apply a second coat on top of that. Again, it's UV activated, so we haven't got to worry about drying time. I'm even cleaning up with a cotton wool bud just to make sure everything's all nice and tidy all around it and activated. Despair does do a cool UV light as well. It's also rechargeable also, so you haven't got to mess about with batteries, and get that activated. Now the AK real color acrylic pens are really cool. The color is such a close match to what I used in the interior color that I'm just quickly tidying up some spots I missed. We've got a bit of black on the top part of the canopy, and I'm just painting that. It's just really nice, quick and easy, as well as even the canopy as well. Normally I'd spray this, but it's just quick and easy to get these kind of pens out. It's the first time I did do this, and it did work out rather well. Looked like it was sprayed on anyway, so really does help. Nice, quick, easy and effective. In with the micro crystal clear now. I want the canopy open, but I want to sort of close up the canopy and stuff, so a little bit of glue, not a lot, just enough so as it just holds it in position, but we can easily pop it off later on down the line, and a bit of cotton wool bud just to tidy that up. Entering into the spray stage, just cleaning off all the debris, sanding, dust, coming in with some IPA and a kitchen paper towel, and we just wipe this all down, getting rid of all those grease and marks and all that kind of stuff, making a nice perfect surface for spraying, as well as a bit of sponge just to close up those wheel wells and engine area. Now in with the primer, I like to use Vallejo for my primer, 50-50 mix with homebrew thinners, which there's a tutorial on the Genesis Models website if you want to check that out, and around about 18 psi, and we just put normal coats on here, which is normally a misty coat followed by 2 normal light coats. Should give you good coverage, and it just helps everything stick to the model, and your paints better stick to the model by doing that first misty coat. Now you might find the odd little gap here and there, so rather than a load of sanding, I do like the Vallejo putty technique, just to inject into those gaps and then wipe up while it's still wet with a cotton wool bud. It just saves all the sanding, and it does do a really good job. So on to pre-shading. I'm using simple black Vallejo 057, and when it comes to pre-shading, we just want to sort of make our main color a bit more interesting, so the black's just going to come through and show through. When doing this, don't worry about being too neat. You don't want to be neat, you want it to be weatherings, right? And weathering isn't all checkered and neat and all like uniform, like a little bit of a squiggle here and there, and some parts being darker, some parts being lighter, right? Don't worry about making mistakes or being not neat. We're going to go over this in a bit with the main color. So as you can see, not looking too neat. And you want to make sure you keep your biting point. A biting point, I've teach that a lot. It just helps you kind of make those lines. So as you can see, pre-shading done, but not quite done. I'm going to come in with 115, which is basically a lighter grey, a blue grey, right? Because I want to sort of, you know, do mottled effects as well as recess rivet lines. As you can see, I'm just doing here, there's like a bit of a ripple in the metal work, you know. I don't want these to stand out as much as the panel lines, so I'm coming in with a lighter sort of bluey grey, and I'm just doing a mottled effect within the panel lines just to make a little bit more interest, but not to come out in your face as the panel lines themselves. So as you can see, that's all nicely done, and we've got things masked up nice and easy. And then we're going to come in with, I prefer this colour, 109 UK PRU blue. I use this on the Avenger, really nice colour. We're doing the 50-50 mix, 18 psi, coming in with that light misty coat to help our coats stick. Then we come in with the first normal light coat, which looks a little bit wet. After that, calm down, right? We're seeing that pre-shading just coming through, but then we want to thin our paints down to have more control over, not killing off that pre-shading. If we come in with a normal second coat 50-50 mix, we'd probably kill that off, but adding more thinners, maybe 70% thinners to save paint. Yes, we're going to do about 2 or 3 extra coats to get the coverage we need, but at least we'll have control and not kill off that pre-shading. Hopefully, as you can see, it's just popping through that little bit, just right. So onto some bleaching now. We're going to come in with white by Vallejo, and we're just lightening up that colour, and we're even going to add a bit of thinners because we want about 80-90% thinners here, because we want it to be transparent. We don't want to just be putting big blobs on there and it's very in your face, you know. We want it nice and light. And there is a reservoir in the needle end, so I'm just blasting that through, and you can just see how it goes darker to lighter. And as you can see now, I'm kind of going inside those panel lines and I'm doing like a light mottled effect, which adds that kind of bleaching look to it all. You know, kind of makes it look like it's been weathered in the sun and fading. You can just see that light mottling, right? So you don't want to add too much white, but you want to add enough just to make that light sort of look to it, rather than being too much in your face or not being able to see it. So we're removing the masking tape. Love removing masking tape, it kind of shows it all off, and as you can see, nice light mottled effect. Now using the same paint, why not, coming in with 057 black Vallejo again, and we're going to darken up our color again. We're doing about 89% thinners to paint. We're probably, because we're kind of getting our thinners down, by the thinning it down more, we could probably come in around about under 15 psi as well now. And this is a bit like the pre-shading. We're kind of spraying those panel lines very lightly, and because the paint's been thinned down, it's transparent, it's not going to be smacking your face. It's going to be nice and light. Now it doesn't matter if you go over one place more than once or you miss a panel line, you know, keep it really random. You know, you don't want it to be uniform and checkered and all that kind of stuff. So onto the decaling, which by the way, off camera I did put a gloss coat on that before I started the decaling. With these decals, the numbers, they're kind of, you know, turn into little bits and get everywhere, so I cut them off, and in some lukewarm water we're going to place our sheets in there. Now we're going to be using the Mr. Mark range, so we're going to be using Setter and Softer. Setter is going to be the main one. With the Mr. Mark range, you kind of really use the Setter more than compared to, say, Micro Solid Set. So I've put the Setter underneath the decal. I'm going to put the Setter on top of the decal as well. This kind of allows it to kind of start softening up and working on that decal, and you're probably going to leave it for maybe 10-20 minutes, and then I'll put another coat on top of that and leave it for another 10-20 minutes, because you really want it to do its magic, and it takes a little bit longer than, say, Micro Solid Set. And I'm just after maybe half an hour, we're kind of rolling out that air pockets or extra moisture, trying to just kind of also even flatten it down. And then I'm going to put some more Setter on top of that as well, and I'll probably leave it for a couple of hours, and then you will see recessed panel lines and recessed rivets start to come through themselves. But to help them along, a little blade will cut into those recessed panel lines just to help The next solution we're going to put on here, get into those and under those panel lines, and we're going to come in with a softer on top just to finish that off. Right, and you could probably get away with maybe putting 2 coats of this on and then leave it probably 24 hours, and you'll just come back and everything's just sucked down and conformed nicely. But then you're going to have a bit of a cleanup stage, right? It leaves a bit of a residue. You want to kind of clean that up with a kitchen paper towel and some water, and just to get that off before putting on a gloss coat, which we're going to come in with 112, and we're going to use Mr. Colour thinners, not the self-leveling thinners. I just find that it gets too glossy, like high glossy, if you use the self-leveling thinners for this final gloss coat, and it just makes it hard to put in a matte coat on when you come to the matte stage, right? So I like to kind of use that instead. And then we're coming in with a nice sludge wash, which we just slap it on, leave it half an hour, put another coat on, leave it half an hour. We wipe it up with a kitchen paper towel, a little bit damp. I do a first pass and then I'll do a second pass, and you'll see it getting cleaner. On the third pass I'll come in and do sort of streak it into the direction of flow, so if we do miss anything, at least it's going to turn into a bit of a streaking effect. Then on to the Fenrisian Grey. We're going to do some chipping here. This is a nice colour that's just a little bit lighter than our original base colour, and it's going to sort of represent those kind of chips where it's not chipped away at the paintwork, it's kind of chipped away at the varnish and kind of made it a bit of a different colour, like it looks like a bit of a scratch on your car, and that's quite a nice effective way of doing it. Then we're going to do some oils. Got what is it, the oil brushes by AK here. We're just gonna kind of blob it here and there, kind of coming in with the buff mainly, and then maybe sort of like ochre sort of on the edges a little bit, and we're just gonna sort of brush that in. Now the brush has no thinners, it's just dry, and we're just feathering that in and keep brushing at it, and it starts to look dusty and dirty, and hopefully, as you can see, really makes a nice quick easy effect. But you might want to clean off your brush with no thinners, just a clean kitchen paper towel, and you can sort of brush at it more, you can feather it in, you can lighten up the effect a bit more with a cleaner brush, and you just keep going until you've kind of cleaned most of it away and whatever intensity you want. Now onto the ochre, does a really nice colour I like for like streaking effects, right? We can just paint that on nice and easy with the the ammo oil brushes, and again with a brush that has no finish, we can just brush up and down, and we get some pretty cool quick easy streaking effects on there. Now on to the final post shade. This is where we're coming in with again black, and this is also going to be like 90% finish to paint. We don't want it to be strong, we want it to be very transparent, we don't want to ruin the model, right? Below 15 psi, and we can just target all those areas that need a little bit of extra sort of extra weathering, a bit darker, you know, any kind of moving parts, flaps, slats, ailerons, all that kind of stuff. Even the decals themselves, the decals haven't had much weathering, so I like to give them a little spray just to darken them up a little bit and give them a bit of weathering, and then we can move in with a matte coat by Winsor & Newton. This is a 50-50 mix with homebrew thinners and around about 18 psi, and we just do a normal base coat of Misty and then 2 normal light coats. And I love this part because the model looks nice and matte and it's starting to look the way it's supposed to. Now Despair does a super glue applicator, kind of a bit over top, but it looks cool, and we can glue in all our little parts. I like to use super glue because super glue, it does break, a clean break, rather than Tamiya thin cement that kind of just tears the plastic apart. And there's 2 different ways of gluing that as well. I like to glue it on the model rather than dipping most of the time, but you can do it that way. And then I'm just coming in with some matte UV varnish because the super glue is going to dry a bit shiny, so we want to make sure we've got no gluey shiny bits by adding a bit of a matte coat on there. Again, back with these lovely pens that I've fallen in love with, we can come in and sort of paint our navigation lights, both the reds, the greens, the blues. Quite easy to do, as you can see there. Maybe this green's a bit lighter than what I kind of wanted, but you know, I'm kind of experimenting a bit. But the Gauzy agent here, we can paint that on top to give us that glass finish to all our navigation lights, to give us that the model's matte, but the you've got those nice glassy bits. So onto some easy line, which we're going to apply some super glue to our area we want to apply our easy line, glue that into place, and then with a bit of tension, just a little bit, not too much, we're going to glue the opposite end in, as you can see just there. And then you kind of tug on the leftover bit and you cut that with a blade, and you should get a nice clean cut by giving that bit of a tug. And yes, I do like to paint them as well. I do find over time the easy lines do kind of fade a bit grey, so I like to paint them now. Hopefully, as you can see, and even coming with some silver. And there it is. That has basically come to the end of the build of the Corsair 1/48 scale by Tamiya. Loved this build. Hopefully you loved it, and hopefully you're going to look forward to whatever comes next. So do please go check out the Genesis Models website, where we have all sorts of lot content with step-by-step builds, inbox reviews, shows, tutorials, you name it. We kind of do everything modeling, as well as great Discord channel over there for you guys to get in on a community and get together and show off your work and look at everyone else's work. So as always, until next time, my name's Bobby Waldron, this is Genesis Models, and I hope you've enjoyed.